Hi everybody, in this video I'm going to show you how to connect an I2C LCD display to the quantum system. So let's get started. So an I2C LCD display is pretty straightforward. There's an LCD display here, and then behind it here is an I2C chip where you can see there's 4 pins. There's the ground pin, the VCC pin, which is the power that goes into the 5 volts on the builder base, the SDA line, which is the serial data line, and then the SCL pin, which is the serial clock line. So these are the 4 pins that you'll be connecting to the builder base. There's also a knob here that you can adjust the brightness of the backlight of the LCD display. And then here is you got a little cap, and this is what you use. If you don't want a backlight on the display, you pull it out, insert it back in. You'll have a backlit display, and you'll see that once you connect it to the builder base and then power on the builder base, you'll see if the light turns on or off. So that's pretty much it for the LCD display. So let's go ahead and connect this to a builder base and then go from there. So first thing you want to do is bring in a builder base, and then we're going to connect those 4 pins to the correct terminals here. So to do that, we're going to need 4 male to female jumper wires. And the first pin we're going to connect is the ground pin. So I'm going to take a black male to female jumper wire here, connect it to that pin. And then for the VCC pin, I'm going to take a red one, connect it there. And then for the SDA pin, I'm going to connect an orange wire to it. And then for the SCL, I'm going to choose this purple one here. So once you got those on your LCD display, let's go ahead and connect them to the correct terminals. So we're going to start with the ground. And take the male end, connect it to the ground terminal on the builder base, tighten it. Next, I'm going to take the VCC. I'm going to connect that to the 5 volt terminal on the builder base. I'm going to tighten it there. And then I'm going to take the orange wire, which is the SDA line, and I'm going to connect it to the SDA terminal on the builder base. And then I'm going to take the purple one and connect it to the SCL terminal on the builder base. So now when I power it on, like this, you can see the I2C chip's on, the LCD display is on. You can see that the backlight is on the LCD. If I take that cap off, the backlight disappears. But I put that cap back on, there it is. Alright, so that's pretty much how you connect an I2C LCD display to the builder base. So now let's go over to our Q server and do the rest of the setup there. Alright, now that we're on our Q server, let's go over to the Clients tab, and we're going to pair that builder base that we connected with the LCD display. So go to Clients tab, go to Unpaired, there's the builder base, go to Actions, and then select Pair. Alright, now that your client's paired, go ahead and click the Setup button. And for the name, I'm going to name it LCD. Location, I'm going to select Studio. Once your builder base is paired, the next thing we need to do is find the I2C address of the LCD display. So we do have documentation. Our hardware reference here kind of goes over how to connect the LCD display, but also talks about the I2C address. I'll have it linked in the video description below. This will give you some more information on how to do all this as well. But anyways, we're going to go back to our Q server. We're going to stay on the Clients tab, go to that LCD builder base, and we're going to select Debug. Then we're going to scroll down, and where it says I2C Scan, click the Scan button, and then a banner will pop up with the I2C address, which is 27. So we have to keep that in mind for when we do the firmware building, which we're doing next. So from here, go over to the Firmware tab, select it, and we're going to create a new firmware file for our LCD display. We'll name it LCD, click Create. Now we want to add an LCD hardware to the firmware file. So we're going to search for it, select it, and then give it a name, and click Add Hardware. Now we have to configure the hardware in the firmware file, so we're going to click the drop down. For the driver, we are going to select the generic LCD 2004 display I2C. Go ahead and click it. And now we have to input the I2C address, which we found earlier, which was 27. Type that in. And for the layout, I'm using a 2x16 LCD display. I mean, you can also use a 4x20, depends what you have. All right, so we're gonna use the 2x16. I'm gonna click Save. And now we have to upload this to our builder base. So we're gonna select Actions. We're gonna click Upload. and then we're going to select our LCD client. Go ahead, select it, now upload. Now while that's uploading, we're going to create the app. So go over to the apps tab, click create new. I'll name this LCD, and then click create. First thing we want to do is bring out that LCD hardware object, which is the blue one here. And then for the sake of good practice, we are going to give it an object name. This will help when we are mapping multiple objects in an app to our builder base. So I'm just going to name it LCD, click save properties. You can see the name changes up there. Now there's a couple ways you can do this. You can have it where you can type in a text and then I'll send it to the display. Or you can also have it as a static string object where it's a saved message, and once that's triggered, it'll send it to the display as well. Usually can have this where it'll send you a message if you have, a motion sensor or door contact that gets triggered, or any type of trigger basically. But anyways, first thing we're gonna include is the input text interface object. Now this will allow us to type in a text on our dashboard and then send it to the display. Now I'm going to take the input text and drag a line to the send to display trigger, as well as the string. Now the reason I did this was because this send to display port here is a trigger, as you can see. And now basically when there's a signal that goes to that port to trigger, it's going to send the message that's already stored in this string. So since I want the input text to type something and then also send it to the display, I have to drag a line both to the string port here and then to the send to display. Now the next one that I was talking about is the one where you have a trigger that sends a stored message. So the first object I need to bring out for that is an interface button. You can use any type of trigger, just whatever is your preference. So once you have that out, go ahead and bring out a static string code object, which is this one here. And then I'm going to drag a line from this port on the button interface object to the trigger on the static string. And then another one from the string port on the static string to both the send to display and the string. Now, so what this one does is when I press a button, it'll send a stored message to the LCD display and then it'll display it as well. Now we need to store that message that we want to send to the display. So you click the string port here on the object and then you type it in. So for this one, I'll just type hello, exclamation point, and then click save properties. Now there's a few other options here. As you can see, there's a couple other inputs for how the cursor is moved. You can clear text, a few other things. We also have an object reference here, which I'll link in the video description below as well, where it will go over each port on the LCD object, as you can see here. But anyways, back to our app. Next thing I want to show is the clear port here. This is just a simple trigger if you hover over it. And for this one, it will clear the text on the display. And I want to be able to do this by using another interface button. So I'm going to drag one out, and then I'm just going to drag a line to that clear port. That's pretty much how I want to set up my app. You guys can customize it however you want, but this is what I'm going to do for our demo. Next, I want to organize our apps a little bit better and label them. So for the input text, I'm going to give an object name of input text. And then it already has the label I want, which is going to be shown on our dashboard. So I'm just going to click Save Properties. You can see the object name changes. For this button, I'm going to label it static string. And then I'm also going to change the label to static string as well, just so I know which one it is on the dashboard, since we have two buttons here. Click Save. All right, and the next one, this one, I'm going to name Clear. And then for the label, also going to name it Clear, and then click Save Properties. So this is how I want to set up my app. I'm just going to save my app now, and then return to My Apps. And we're going to click the play button here to run the app. And now we're going to have to map that LCD hardware object to the LCD hardware on our firmware file that's uploaded to the builder base. So I'm going to click that, and then for the client, I'm going to select the LCD client with the LCD firmware file, which we created. I'm going to select it, then click Done. And then now click Save and Run. Now that it's running, let's go over to our dashboard. I'm going to select the LCD app. And now you can see the input text field that we added. the static string interface button, and then the clear interface button. So I have my LCD here, it's on, it's running. Now, when I click the static string button on my dashboard here, you can see this sends a message, hello, exclamation point, which I stored in that static string object. And now if I want to clear it, I just go and click the clear button. And there you go. Now the text field is empty. Now if I want to input a text, this one I will type quantum exclamation point. And there you go. It automatically sends it to the display, quantum exclamation point. And then I could just click the clear button again. And then there you go, display is cleared. So that's pretty much how you connect and use the I2C LCD display with the Quantum system. Make sure you check out the links in the video description below for more information about the LCD and how to use it with our system. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching.